Did you know that when you update a WordPress plugin or theme, the cached files for that plugin or theme have to be refetched by your browser and CDN caches? This applies to all files, not just the ones that changed, meaning every update results in visitors unnecessarily re-downloading files that could have been served from cache. I'm Elijah from WP Speed Matters, and today I'm going to explain why this happens and show you how to easily avoid it. To understand why updates invalidate your cache, let's look in our browser DevTools at the files fetched when we load our site. If we look at the actual URL being used to fetch the files, you'll notice that most of them have a query parameter, like ver equals and some number appended. This parameter references the version of the plugin or theme the file is coming from, and it changes whenever the plugin or theme is updated. That update then changes the version in the query parameter, which invalidates the file in the browser and CDN caches. The idea or intention behind this is logical. When a plugin or theme gets updated, if these files didn't get invalidated in your caches, visitors could continue to be served the old files until those caches naturally cycled. That would mean that changes to things like CSS and JavaScript that impact the front end wouldn't be visible immediately after updates, which can be a big problem. But this approach also means that files that did not change in the update get invalidated as well, resulting in unnecessary refetches of those files. And this isn't just a matter of getting a faster server or better hosting. The bottom line is, if the asset URLs change, browsers and CDNs are going to re-download those assets instead of serving the cached versions. So how do we avoid this? Well, WordPress already provides a way for developers to set separate versions for individual CSS and JavaScript files. When using WP-enqueue script or WP-enqueue style to load plugin and theme assets, you can pass a version number as a parameter. This means that, in theory, developers could update the version numbers for individual files when those files are changed. In reality, though, basically no one does this, because it would be quite difficult to track the individual version numbers of all the files included in a plugin or theme. Instead, developers take the easier approach of using the global version number from their plugin or theme itself, which means all files get the same version number, and they all change when the plugin is updated, even if the individual files didn't change. So then, ideally, we need a way to change the URL to the file only when that specific file changes, and one that doesn't require the developer to manually update a version number every time the code is tweaked. Lucky for us, there's a method for doing this called content hashing. Before I explain content hashing, I want to address the ignore query strings option that some CDN providers recommend. The way this works is it forces the CDN cache to ignore all query parameters in the URLs for assets, which makes the cache more sticky. The problem is, it's a blanket solution. The CDN won't know when to refetch a file that's been updated, so it may keep serving outdated files until the cache naturally cycles. So instead, we need to use content hashing, which works like this. Instead of a query parameter being appended to the asset URL with the plugin or themes version, a hash is generated from the file itself and then used in the URL instead. A hash is basically a short string that acts as a unique fingerprint generated from the file's contents. This hash will always be the same if the file is the same, but if anything in the file changes, the hash changes as well. That means that the only files getting invalidated in the browser and CDN caches when using this method are files that actually changed. This is actually the way modern frameworks like Next.js, Astro, and React load their assets. Overall, this approach is going to make your CDN and browser caching more effective, reduce server load, and improve core web vitals for real users. Next, let's take a look at how to actually implement content hashing on your WordPress site. Luckily, content hashing is available in many modern WordPress optimization plugins, including FlyingPress, where this method is used by default. When using FlyingPress, the version parameter and asset URLs will be swapped out for a hashed file name when minifying assets. In the case of an already minified file that doesn't need to be processed, FlyingPress will still use the version parameter in the asset URL, but with the file hash as the version number instead, which results in the same improved caching behavior. The best part is there's no special configuration needed to implement this. Just install FlyingPress and content hashing will be applied. If you're not sure whether your optimization plugin is using content hashing, here's how to check. I'm using Chrome, so I'll load the site, open the browser's developer tools, and go to the Sources tab. Once you see the sources being loaded, dig into the WP content folder, then Plugins, and pick one of the plugins to open up. Inside, you should see some JavaScript or CSS files. If you're not using content hashing, here's what they'll look like. With FlyingPress installed, we can see the content hash in the asset URL instead of the version parameter, which tells us content hashing is active. You can also check whether a file is being fetched from cache or not over in the Network tab. Let's find a file with our content hash in the URL, select it, then open up the Headers tab. These may look slightly different depending on your hosting setup, but you're looking for a header with cache in the label and hit as the value, like this. Since we see a cache hit for this file, we know it's being served from the cache. And if we update the plugin this file came from and the file changes, we won't see the cache hit the first time we load the page, since the hash has changed and the file will be refetched. But subsequent loads will hit the cache, just like you'd expect. Now that you've verified that content hashing is being used, you can update your WordPress plugins and themes without worrying about unchanged files being invalidated in the cache. If you want to learn more about WordPress performance, make sure to subscribe to our channel and check out the rest of our videos. I'm Elijah from WP Speed Matters. Thank you for watching.